Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a real informative video for you, and we're going to be talking about the two different growing systems for your durian trees, or for any fruit trees in that matter, that will nearly produce twice as much fruit than the other. So let's get right into it. All right guys, so Malaysia, back in the early 1990s, the Malaysia Institute of Agriculture came up with a growing system, which they call the low-headed training system. And prior to that, the only system they had was a high-headed training system. So yeah, they would just basically allow the tree to grow, and they would prune it accordingly. They would build their scaffold on it. And the problem with that, though, is that it gets too tall and your labor is very high. Well, the Malaysia Institute of Agriculture went ahead and they experimented, and they came up with the low-headed training system they introduced, unveiled back in the early 1990s. And this training system literally produces nearly twice as much fruit, and it reduces the labor, because the trees with the low-headed training system are generally kept in between 5 to 7 meters tall, which is ideal for a high-density modern durian farm. Okay, so if you're looking to produce more fruit and lower your labor costs with more profit, then you want to introduce the low-headed training system, which I'm introducing into my farm. And so anyways, guys, I'm going to show you what I do, but and more or less, I'm going to show you what the Ministry of Malaysia's Agriculture says you must do to introduce it. So basically from year 1 to year 2, and then from year 2 to year 3, and 3 to 4, you know, there's certain steps that you have to implement. So we're going to go ahead and go over those today, and we're going to go ahead and start with year 1. So let's get started with that. All right, guys, so year 1 and implementing the low-head training system is basically this. Make sure your bud grafted durian tree is upright. So from 0 months from the time of planting until 12 months, you want to ensure that it's growing straight up. If it's not growing straight up, you're going to want to put a stake in and tie it to ensure that it's growing straight up, okay? Now, I planted this tree about 4 months ago, or 3.5 months ago, because the one last year died. So anyway, but this is growing straight up. I don't need a stake, but if it was to the side or whatnot, I would need a stake. Actually, I got one right over there, guys. Let's zoom in on that. Right there. See, I've got one there, and it needed a little bit of help, so I put a stake up and I tied it off to ensure that it's growing upright. Okay, now let's talk about year 2. All right, guys, so we're going to talk about what you need to do in between year 1 and year 2. Now, during this time, it's absolutely critical, because you're going to go ahead and select your scaffolding in your tree by pruning it, just like I did with this one here. So we just got done pruning, and what's really important is that you prune your branches to where it has room for the fruit to hang from each one, and they won't be hitting each other. Now, of course, you won't be able to go all the way up the tree, because the top of the tree is still grown and the branches are too small, and that'll be taken care of next year. But once you select your scaffolding, the main difference between a high-headed system and the low-headed system, and this is important, guys, is where you start pruning from. On a low-headed training system, your first branch is going to be 50 to 75 cm from the ground. And the reason for this is the tree thinks it's got plenty of sunlight. It knows, it feels that it's not in a crowded situation, and so therefore it's not gonna grow too tall. It'll control the height of the tree. The apex of the tree will be controlled due to the branches down low. Now, the high-headed training system, the first branch is well over a meter. Okay, guys, and basically, if you prune your branches up too high, your tree's going to want to grow, and it's going to get really too tall for what you're looking for. Okay, now that's basically it for the second year. You're just going to build your scaffolding. You're going to choose the first branches coming up before the immature branches, and you're going to prune it up from the ground, no less than 50 cm and no more than 75 cm. Okay. Yeah, I've got my house cat come and see me here. All right, get out of here. I'm making a video. All right, guys, so in between year 2 and 3, Okay, same thing. You're going to want to go ahead and maintain your scaffolding. Anything growing on there shouldn't grow, go ahead and take those off. Any new buds. And basically in the second to third year, you're going to go ahead and prune, build up your scaffolding to the next level. Okay, so first in between 1 and 2, you prune this area, build your scaffold, and then you go ahead and work up to your tree and you start pruning the upward part of it. Now, critically, if your tree is big, you can actually prune the top. You can top it. So I've got a tree here that is just about 4 meters tall. Okay, now ideally, I'm going to want to prune this back. I want to take that top off. And I'm going to show you what happens when you take the top down. All right, guys, here's a tree that I had pruned back about 4 months ago. Okay, and I topped it right here. And what happened was all these branches underneath where I topped it matured out. They got really fat. So this is what happens when you prune your tree, when you're training it. Now look at the tree that's right next to it that I did not prune. Look at the size of the branches compared to the one that I topped. So guys, this is why the low-headed training system does what it does. Not only do you produce more fruit, you're going to produce fruit 1 year earlier, okay? And because when you prune your trees and you top them in between year 2 and 3, and that depends, guys, though, on how tall your trees are. I mean, some trees grow slow and others grow faster than others. So you want to go ahead and ensure that your trees are tall enough before pruning the top. But again, so you're going to produce more fruit and you're going to produce fruit a year earlier by doing this. So important. So year 2 to 3, we're going to go ahead and continue building our scaffolding. And if your tree is tall enough, you will go ahead and top it and then allow that new top to grow out. So let's talk about year 3 and 4. All right, guys, so in between year 3 and 4, basically this is the last year of training for your tree. And if your trees have reached your ideal height, okay, and you've already, built your scaffolding, and let's say you pruned it the top the year before, and they're right where you want them to be, well, now we need to prepare them for having fruit. So what we want to do is open up the center. And by opening up the center, I mean going ahead and pruning the top of the tree again. So in between year 2 and 3, if you did prune your tree, you had the opportunity to prune your tree, you'll go ahead and build out that scaffolding. You will go ahead and prune that scaffolding back and then take your top down to your ideal height. Now, on my trees, my maximum height is going to be 5.5 meters. I will prune all these trees and I will maintain them at 5.5 meters. The reason why, the height determines the width of the branches. So a 5.5 meter to 6 meter tree will have 2.5 to 3 meter wide branches, okay? And in between my spacing, I have a little bit over 6 meters in between. So I will maintain a 5.5 meter tall tree. And that's it, guys. And from that point on, you're gonna go ahead and just maintain your tree. So after year 4, you just wanna maintain it. Don't let it get any taller, okay? And if a new top comes up, just trim it off. You don't have to cut it back way far. Just take that bud and just snap it off. And you're good to go. You'll have your low-headed training system in effect, and you will produce twice as much fruit. Your labor will be reduced greatly, and I think you have much better quality fruit based on the system. All right, guys, so I hope this helps. If you got any questions, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. Other than that, I wish everybody good luck, and happy durian season coming up. So let's enjoy some durian the next few months, and we'll talk to y'all later.